we are announcing the Government of Canada will be suspending advertising on Facebook and Instagram.
The federal government has announced it will immediately cease all advertising with Meta. It's part of an ongoing dispute between the mega corporation and the federal government over the Online News Act, formerly known as Bill C-18.
They're superpowers. They're huge. They're huge. They're rich, powerful, lots of big lawyers. They can be intimidating. But are we going to let ourselves be intimidated? We can't. If the government and politicians don't stand up against that kind of bullying or intimidation, who will?
The act would require tech giants like Facebook and Google to negotiate deals to show Canadian news. Those deals would cover how much corporations would pay for linking to Canadian news. The federal government has characterized the current arrangement as tech giants freeloading Canadian content. In response, Meta and Google announced they would pull Canadian news from their sites. Federal government ads will be pulled from Meta platforms, but not YouTube, with Heritage Minister Pablo Rodriguez saying Google has engaged in good faith negotiations as opposed to Meta.
They adopted a very hard line. There's no reason for that.
After the federal government's announcement, Quebec Premier François Legault announced his province would also suspend advertising on Facebook. However, the Liberal Party itself won't be pulling ads, an incongruity Rodriguez has no problem with.
Well, the government is one thing, the party is another one.
The linkage is connecting people with newsmakers, and Google or Meta are the intermediaries. Yes, they do the connection, but they don't make money on that. They make money from the data they gather.
But the former CRTC head says the federal government's approach is completely wrong-headed. He proposes instead the big tech giants could pay into a Canadian journalism fund that could be approved by the CRTC.
Either way, it's just a question of money. They want certainty. They want to know how much do they have to pay. And once you get that payment, you can have a subsidy for journalists.
In a statement to CityNews, a Meta spokesperson says the Online News Act is flawed legislation that ignores the realities of how its platforms work, adding that Meta itself doesn't proactively collect links to news content, but rather publishers do, adding that they don't believe the regulatory process can change the law and that it intends to comply with the act by ending news availability in Canada in the coming weeks. In Ottawa, Shaoli Lee, City News.